My girlfriend's not a car.
So you wanna know the story of the parking lot, but you wanna know how it began. 2 doors down on the left is where Brian came up with a plan. A teacher with the name of Mr. Hawks never ever gave a damn. So we put on a movie, and this is where our story began. Brian, Yoon, no one will ever understand you. Brian, Yoon, the stories will never be true. Brian, Yoon, you always stay out of you. Brian, Yoon, the parking lot lie will always be you. Lil Brian had to leave to make a visit to the washroom. His return back to the class would only bring him certain gloom. The gate to that boring place was sealed from him. He stared, hoping for help, but his future seemed quite grim. Brian, Yoon, no one will ever understand you. Brian, Yoon, the stories will never be true. Brian, Yoon, you will always stay out of you. Brian, Yoon, the parking lot lie will always be you. With Hawks leaving him no choice, started to make a scheme. He saw the empty stairwell and thought of something extreme. He crawled into the space, and this is where he settled the score. This move would be a grave mistake, and here comes the parking lot lore. Brian, Yoon, no one will ever understand you. Brian, Yoon, the stories will never be true. Brian, Yoon, you will always stay out of view. Brian, Yoon, the parking lot lie will always be you. Brayden came into the well. Brian bid him an empty farewell. Brian told him that nobody cares, but what Brayden told him made him shed tears. He said, Brian, you are really loved, and that there is a God in the skies above. He decided to try with school again, and he became Brayden's friend at only 10. Back in the worried class, rumors began to circulate. They said Brian Yoon made a visit to the forbidden place. Brian was nowhere to be found, and things were getting out of hand. Just then, Brian walked in, holding Brayden's hand and a bottle of gin, singing hue, 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 yeah, hue, 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 hue. You wanna know the other side of the story, but you wanna know how it ends? If you want to uncover the truth of the tale, then you can go and ask the parking lot man.